Hey guys, my name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm going to be doing round 5 of WOR here at Zandvoort. So if you want to see more league racing highlight content similar to this, make sure to hit the like button and stick around by subscribing to the channel. All of these races are streamed on my YouTube channel at Tuesday 8 PM BST, and then TSRL is Friday 8 PM BST. So on Tuesday and Friday at 8 PM you're always going to see a live stream on this channel. So as you can see from the video footage, it is full wet for the quali, and it's going to be intermediate conditions for most of the race, and then it dries out towards the end. And this race was probably one of the most, if not the most craziest race that I was a part of. So moving on to our first actual lap, as you can see we did a lap before, but I was sort of just feeling out how everything was going to work around the track. For our first flying lap, we ended up doing a 21.4, but I knew we could do a lot better than that. And in this quali session, I did a lot of flying laps. But the last lap ended up being the quickest lap that I managed to do during the session. So what I'm going to do is leave you guys here and let you see a lap of Zandvoort in wet conditions uninterrupted. So as we come off of the final braking zone of the track, this lap was pretty good actually. I was pretty pleased with this lap. There were a few mistakes, there definitely is a good couple of attempts in this lap, but we ended up doing a 20.5, which put us in P4 at the time, but we ended up being in P5 for the race. So I'm pretty happy. That's actually my highest qualifying position in WOR so far, so I'm pretty happy with that. And moving on to the race strategy, as you can see, it's just intermediates to intermediates, because for most of the race it's going to be raining, but then at the end it's going to be dry, so there is a chance of slick tires being involved here. So as you can see, 5 lights and away we go. And this definitely wasn't the best start that I've had so far. You know, I've definitely had better starts than this, and we ended up getting sort of pushed out of the way there by Amazed. I'm sure it's no fault of his own. It was wet conditions, so it's pretty hard to see, so I'm not gonna, you know, get angry at that or anything like that. It just happens at turn 1. You should really expect it at this point and just try to avoid it as much as you can. But yeah, coming off of that corner now, as you can see, we've lost a few positions and we're now in P8 behind Schweiz. And at this point now, I knew I lost quite a few positions. I just wanted to try and get my head down and just try and gain those positions back, because I really wanted to do as well as I could. As you guys know, I've been in a slump recently and I've just not really been performing as well as I know that I can do. So, you know, at this point, it was in wet conditions, and it seems as if in wet conditions I can do quite a lot better than some of the guys around me. Maybe it's just I'm able to adapt quicker to the conditions, but you know, they're still quicker than me. I can just adapt quicker than them, which gives me the advantage. So moving on to lap 4 now. And this is what I'm sort of talking about when it comes to really adapting to how the track is evolving in wet conditions. Schweiz ahead of me, he just puts a little bit too much on the throttle and he ends up losing control of the car and spins, and luckily we weren't close enough to get caught up in that. So pretty happy with that, because a lot of the time when people spun on 2019, F1 2019, I ended up getting caught up in it just because I was a bit too close to them. So luckily in that situation I wasn't. So now we move up to P7, so we're at a net loss of 2 positions right now. So if I can just stick with Gibby and just try and catch him up, I can try and fight for that position, just try and get back into P5. But For most of the stint on the intermediates, we were just stuck behind Gibby. We just couldn't get better exits out of the corners than him. And in wet conditions, if the guy gets a 5 out of 10 exit out of a corner, you would probably need at least a 9.5 out of 10 exit out of that same corner in order to have a chance of passing him. And you pretty much need to be right on his gearbox. But as we come up to the end of Sector 2, you can see the safety car comes out, and this is where the title starts. This is the part of the race that just goes way out the window. I don't know what happened. Honestly, at this point, I was panicking. I didn't know if I should stay in or if I should stay out. If I should go in or stay out, because the track was drying slowly. But as you can see, it stopped raining, so I didn't know if maybe by the time that the safety car had gone in, if maybe it would be ready for the slick tires. So honestly, you guys who were in the live stream, you were telling me to stay out. It would probably be better to stay out. So I thought to myself, okay, I'd stay out. But at this point now, I was panicking inside my head, and I really didn't know what to do. So I ended up just on instinct doing what everyone else did. And in hindsight, it wasn't the correct decision. You'll see why in a second. But yeah, we decided to just pit in. And as you can see, there was someone, I think in the Mercedes or something, who ended up staying out. And as I said, that was pretty much the right decision, but we go in for the medium tires, and as you can see, most of the grid are pitting for slicks. So I wasn't the only one who thought that maybe by the end of the safety car it would be time for slick tires. But as we move to the end of the safety car on lap 19, you can see that it is still way too wet for the slick tires, and it was at this point now that we all realized we had made a mistake. There were some people who didn't pit, so they made the correct decision. But yeah, and this is something that I don't understand. At the end of the safety car, you can see right now I'm not pushing much on the throttle, but really and truly I'm actually slamming on the throttle to try and just get the car moving forward, but it just wouldn't move forward. So I don't know if that's a glitch or something like that that happens at the end of safety cars. But yeah, this is going to be the most interesting restart to a race that I've personally ever seen on the game so far. And as you guys know, when it comes to safety car restarts, I've had a bit of trouble with them. So the fact that it's still way too wet for slick tires, and we're pretty much all on slicks except for a couple of people, definitely going to be an interesting start. But as you can see, MS Tom, he ends up pitting to go back on the intermediate tires. We choose to stay out. So I don't know if that was the correct decision. Maybe we should have pit at this point, but as you can see, just no grip whatsoever. The track is just not ready for those slick tires. But coming up to the end of lap 20 now, we end up getting another safety car. As you're about to see, we get overtaken by some of the guys who had stayed out on intermediate tires. So as you can see, the track is still pretty much intermediate conditions, and I'm still on the medium tires. So as you're about to see, I end up overshooting this corner. You want to brake super early if you're in wet conditions on slick tires, obviously, because there's no grip on the car. So we overshoot the corner, and we end up losing the position to Days. But as you can see, Kyle ended up retiring, and he ended up leaving the session, which is what caused the second safety car. So at this point, I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should go back on the intermediate tires or what. But you guys who were in the stream said to me to stay out, and this time I actually decided to listen to you instead of panicking and doing the opposite to what you guys said. So I ended up staying out at this point, and the safety car stayed out for I think 2 or 3 laps at this point. So by the time that the safety car actually was ready to go in, it was pretty much dry conditions. And there are a lot of people who are ahead of me right now who are an intermediate, so they need to pit, which means we could potentially be in a very good position once all of these people pit. And as you can see, going into the end of the safety car, I was trying to warm up my tires, but they just wouldn't warm up, and I think that is just due to the track. So I don't know if maybe the track was still way too cold, which was causing my tires to not be able to warm up properly. But as we come up to the restart now, I think somebody goes into the pits or something. Yeah, I think somebody goes into the pits because they realize that it's dry conditions, and we ended up trying to overtake Days, but I ended up just basically pushing myself back just because we weren't past the line yet. So I didn't know if maybe I was going to get like a penalty or something like that. I don't really know how it works if you overtake somebody before the checkered flag and you end up passing it. So I just decided to hold back, and as you can see, going into this corner, AMS Tom, I don't know, he's just very aggressive, it seems. You know, he's always just pushing past me. I'm sure he does it to other people as well, it's not just me. But whenever he overtakes, he just doesn't give a crap if you're there or not. He just pushes past you. So at this point now, we've got somebody in between us and Dazed on the intermediate tyres. So I knew he was going to slow me down a lot because it is pretty much slick tyres at this point. So I wanted to get past him as soon as possible. And as you can see, he ends up going wide, and that's just due to the fact that it was an intermediate condition. So I used this as my opportunity just to get past him. He tries to push me out and squeeze me towards the end of the track, but I wasn't having any of it, so I ended up overtaking him and slowed down a little bit too much. It was a little bit on purpose, I'm not gonna lie. It was because I was a little bit frustrated with the aggressiveness of Tom. But moving on to lap 25, going on to lap 26 now, and we're in third place. We're in a podium position, and most of the people who were on the intermediate tyres ahead of us, they had already pit at this point. So now you can see that Dazed is ahead of us in second position, and he's on the hard tyres. So the mediums are going to last until the end of the race, and they are the quicker tyres. So I knew I had to get ahead of him at this point. So I was using the overtake button to try and get ahead of him, but he ended up defending the position. So I thought to myself at that point, I'm going to hold off and I'm going to overtake him at the next DRS straight. So I just decided to just hold off from overtaking him, hold off from the temptation of overtaking him at this point, just because I wanted to overtake him at that DRS straight, because that was just going to give me the best opportunity to get a clean overtake and not have us crash in any sort of way. So as we come up to the DRS straight, get the best exit we can, we're already on the gearbox, using overtake, using DRS, and we brake later than him, and we end up gaining the position. So right now we're in second place, which is equaling my highest ever position, finish position in a league race. But as we come up to the final corner, you'll see that Amazed ended up getting disqualified. So let's actually check out what happened there from the Twitch stream.
Get the inside, not quite on this occasion. Presto Evans is looking each way, and look at this with Dazed Rhombus, who's on the hards at the moment. Constant Ryan's looking in a good... Oh, off the road for Amazed! Amazed is off! Into the... down at turn 6 as Presto Evans gets ahead of LJ. Now BushiAntz is ahead of Dazed Rhombus, and he's got it! It's hard to know where to look at the moment as Amazed gets disqualified.
So yeah, as you can see, he ended up getting disqualified, and he was actually the second disqualification of the session, which is pretty rare to see, to be honest. But moving on to lap 32 now, as you can see, FRA Square, he was on a mission. He was so quick at this point in the race, and we just didn't really have much to defend. So I thought, you know what, there's no point in defending it because I don't have much to defend with, because we pretty much ran out of ERS. And it's nice to see that me and FRA Square can, you know, pass each other cleanly. Obviously the incident that happened at Bahrain happened, and it turns out I actually did cause him damage at that race, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, it's nice to know that we can actually race cleanly. So at this point now, I'm in third place, and I'm just checking behind me just to see exactly, you know, who's behind me. And as you can see, Presto Evans is the one behind me on soft tires, and I didn't know how long he was on those soft tires for. At that point I had forgotten. So as you can see, I'm just checking behind just to make sure that he's not going, you know, a second or two faster than me per lap. But at this point, his tires were pretty much dead compared to mine. So right now we're in a podium position, and we've just got one lap to go. So going over this lap now, coming up to this corner, you want to brake. You're most likely going to lock up into that corner if you don't use ABS. It's a pretty tricky corner, so don't worry if you do lock up into there quite a lot. A lot of people look up into that corner. Coming into the end of sector 1, just after the Pirelli signs on the left and right hand side, you want to shift down one gear and then basically plant your foot back on to the throttle, and then for this corner, ride over that curb a little bit more. And as you can see, there's no brake markers there because someone has smashed into them, but just before the 50-meter board you want to brake, and then just after the 50-meter board for this corner you want to brake. Try not to take as much curb going on the exit there, or else the curb will spit your car out and you'll just spin around. And in this corner, take as much curb as you dare to, and then try and hug that left-hander as much as you can. And then coming up to the last corner, just after the 50-meter board, brake, shift down 2 gears. And at this point, it had sunk in that I was about to get my first podium on F1 2020. So I was really happy. Finally we managed to get a decent position, and we ended up actually running out of fuel right before the line. So thank God that didn't happen a little bit sooner, or else we would have ended up losing our podium position there. So that's pretty much going to round off pretty much the craziest race that I was a part of as we watched the podium there. I just wanted to thank you guys who watch my streams, who can turn up to my streams. It's heavily appreciated that you guys can turn up, and I hope that you're enjoying the stream. So I'm gonna leave you guys here. If you liked this video and you want to see more of these, make sure to hit the like button and stick around by subscribing to the channel. As I said, I stream WOR 8 PM on Tuesday BST, and I stream TSRL on Fridays at 8 PM BST. So I'll see you guys in the next video.